What do you want? How badly do you want it? And how much are you willing to suffer?
You can't be perfect. You can't plan everything, but it's like you're trying to navigate something that's constantly moving. So when you step into it, you'll take your L's and, you know, grab your lessons, but ultimately down the road, you're a different person than when you started. And I think that's what it's about, the courage to sort of step into that moving dynamic.
There's nothing more important in life as a warrior to be stronger than the conditions and circumstances that are presented to us. You know, Nietzsche, the philosopher, once said that chaos is needed in oneself to give way to a dancing star. Without chaos, there will be no armies to fight, no mountains to climb or dragons to slay. Without chaos, there will be no realization to one's actual truth.
I don't know your situation. I couldn't place myself in your shoes, but what I can tell you is that there's no value ever in pointing out and blaming at the world. It's what can I do to fix the situation? You can't control where you started, but you can always control where you go from here. Ambition, personal responsibility, personal agency will change your life. I mean, the issue is that it's harder.
So I think the two most compelling things that shape a person are failure and shame. I'm not saying you have to rush to failure, but people are so scared of failure now. And you hear all these same things, like Michael Jordan would have scored so many points had he not taken all those shots. Or Babe Ruth wouldn't have hit all those home runs unless he stepped up to the plate. And they're all so irritating because they're all so cliche. But they were there, right? They did strike out. They did fail. They were like not even considered to come on and play for their high school team because they weren't good enough.
Right? It's not your boss. It's not, you know, this person, that person, this person. It's you failing to navigate around what's in front of you. So Eddie, how can you step up and build something with these pieces? You know? And so when I think of ambition in today's day and age, I just think a lack of understanding.
If you were to look at this as going, right, cool, there's someone up there playing a big game, and it's like, these guys are good. And it's like, yeah, but how good are they? It's like, let's put it to the test. And they put this thing in front of you, and then you decide then to give it up and try something else. And then the people up there go, told you. Versus putting that obstacle in your way, and not only do you learn from it, you become better, and like, they deserve it. And you know, whatever thing you think of, if you can mentally visualize that when you go through a tough time, you're like, no, I know your game. Let's see what you're made of.
And that's what I want people to understand. There's no one on the planet like you. No one. They ain't got your DNA. They ain't got your fingerprints. They haven't got your tone, the way you do things. They're not like you. So you can't decide to throw in the towel and get out the game of life. You can't do that. You're robbing us of what you've been given, what's hidden inside you. There's a hidden leader in all of us. There's gifts in all of us. Why don't we tap into it?
If you're living a life that is just so numb and so monotonous, every day is the same, you feel the same, you wake up at the same time, and that's fine for some people. Don't get me wrong, that's fine for some people, but if people are saying they're depressed by that life, and you're not willing to try anything else, like, you're a maniac. It's not me that's a maniac for trying.
Well, we make concessions. You know, we stay in relationships we're not happy with because we don't think about it. Or we stay in situations we're not content with because we don't think about it. I always say, like, you know, I was very blessed, I was very lucky in my childhood, but I didn't ask Eddie, what do you want out of life until what, 23, 24? I just never, I don't even know how to articulate, I just never thought about that. I saw that freedom as a luxury, not something that's obtainable that I could and should go after. And you know, it got to the point where, you know, I was with one of my buddies, we're driving to work, and we're joking around about a flat tire. We're like, gotta be awesome if we got a flat tire and pulled us off the road here, we could be 2 hours late to work. And it's like light bulb moment. What are you doing? This is not the way to live.
Your want and need and desire to achieve your goal has to be stronger than everything else that comes against you, that said this is better than what you've currently got. And to get what you want, you're gonna have to go through this pain, these feelings of disgust and giving up.
You have to be naive to start and stubborn to finish. And anything that you go into, if you knew how much work was involved and how much sacrifice you had to make, if someone went down and go, here's what's going to happen to you in the next 10 years if you decide to take this journey, you'd probably take one look at that book and go, shit. And it's so true. And that's where, when I think about obstacles, when I think about things that you need to build up, you've just got to go into it with a level of naivety. But when these things do come, you've just got to have a mindset about it to go, okay, cool, how bad do you want this? And I always think that when this is difficult, I remind myself, if this is difficult, then it's worth doing, because most people at this stage would have given up. So if you don't, you're going to get rewarded eventually by this.
Anything that you're going to do, if it's hard, if it's difficult, if there's going to be a lot of resistance in doing it, if your goal isn't as substantial as the resistance that you're going to meet, it's going to be hard to persevere through that resistance. Without a really good reason, without a really good goal that means a lot to you, it's going to be hard to do that, because you're really, for long term, you're really changing your life.
What do you want? How badly do you want it? And how much are you willing to suffer? And very often, everything revolves around the first question, what do you want? Because a lot of people are unclear what they want from life. They don't sit down and think through. We are writing our own life story every day, and yet we don't think about it. Who do we want to be? Where do we want to live? What life do we want to lead? When we've finished our life, come to the end of our life and look back, what do we want to say that we've done? So, what do you want is a very powerful question.
If I have a thought and the thought is, that's really hard, I would shut down before, and now I'm way more apt to say, no, you had the thought, you then thought it was going to be really hard, go do that, go try it, fail. And, Samuel Beckett has my favorite quote, ever tried, ever failed, no matter, try again, fail better. So just this idea, like, it's okay to not be great at something.
Like when we go through a situation and circumstance, it's easy to step back and think, man, I just went through this and it's just my experience. I firmly believe when we go through things, it's for us to deal with it, get over it, and reach back over the hill to help another person. And a lot of times, like you said, when you're trying to work through it, you think, man, how can I help somebody? And I'm trying to get through it myself, right? And that's a great perspective, right? But when you get through it, right, maybe you can't help them when you're in the midst of it because you're processing it. But when you get over the hill, I think it's important and I think it's vital that you reach back over the hill and help somebody that may be going through a similar situation, and you can share your values and principles with them, because that experience that we go through and we deal with, it's not just for us.
I consume so much, right? And it's awesome, audiobooks, podcasts, all the time, to the point where I'm in the shower, I have an audiobook going, I'm waking up, I'm listening to a speech, and it's very easy to just forget to be alone with yourself. And so I started to make a point to go on these walks where it's just you and your thoughts, right? Not even music. And it's the best time you can have. It really is. One, because it trains you to just remove yourself from the digital space that we're entrapped in a lot of ways, but there's this clarity that we don't find in our day-to-day. You can ask yourself, some of the questions that we were just discussing. You can think about strategically what you're doing, where you're going, maybe why you're going there. It's funny how some of the most fundamental, important questions are just not asked. And they're not asked because we're doing other things. And it's like, you know, we're in the engine room, you know, on this ship, having no idea where in the horizon it's pointed to.
Understanding that always the obstacle's the way. You always have to lean into your fears, lean into your weaknesses, lean into the things that make you uncomfortable if you want to overcome them, if you want to get better. There's no other way. You know, most people just numb their minds, pretend it's not there. But it's like, yeah, that might provide you with a temporary relief for a short period of time, but it's not really gonna help you long term the next time that you have, you know, a major life event that is a trigger.
If this was your last day on this earth, if you're sitting there in the morning and you're embracing what is beautiful, and you ask yourself in a moment of death, you say, this is my last day on this earth, will you not savor that morning? All the things that bother you in life, would it just not go away?
Today's video was made possible at mulliganbrothers.com, where you can now get the Memento Mori poster, a poster to remind you that you're going to die. It's 80 years